Will Christian Kirk continue his tear through opposing secondaries? Is Le'Veon Bell going to make his old team regret releasing him this weekend? And how will Tua Tagovailoa's debut affect the Dolphins on your fantasy rosters? Plus, Dynasty Depot co-founder Nelson Verbit stops by to give us the latest on your membership opportunity there. And the leaders in the 2020 Football Guys Players Championship, Christopher Ondrus and Alan Martirossian, hang out to discuss their success and help you set your Week 8 lineups. We've got a great show for you. Farrell Elliott is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by MyFFPC.com, with your hosts Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here's Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott.
Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Farrelliacs. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by MyFFPC.com. I am, of course, your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. My co-host is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Farrell Elliott. Coming up on tonight's show, we're going to talk about Cole Beasley's rest of season and Week 8 prospects. Nelson Verbit is going to dish on the Dynasty Depot coming up in just a few minutes. And Christopher Ondrus and Alan Martirossian will tell us all about how they have managed their squad to the mountaintop. That's right, first place in the Football Guys Players Championship. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you all might have in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, you could do so. At HSFF Hour is where the show is. I am Eric Balkman. Farrell is J. Farrell Elliott. Nelson Verbit is going to be at Credit Kurd King. That's no A in card. You can follow the Dynasty Depot on Twitter at the Dynasty Depot, and we'll tell you more about DynastyDepot.com coming up in a little bit. Facebook.com/HSFF Hour is where to reach us. If you want to chime in and talk with us, please give us a call. 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA. You can also email the show at the inbox, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you do have any questions for me, for Farrell, for Chris, for Alan, for Nelson, or anybody popping in on the show tonight, please do so now. We'll try to get to all those chat room questions, all the tweets, all the emails in the fantasy feedback segment coming up at the, well, not the bottom of the hour, but right before we get out of here. Basically, the last 10 or 15 minutes will be dedicated to you, the listener. And, of course, it's all possible because of the audio engineer and my best friend, Bryce, and our producer and mutual friend, Rob. So a couple of things I want to get out of the way. For those of you thinking that the FFPC is now shut down for the remainder of the NFL season, that's wrong. That's incorrect. We're going to have the world-famous FFPC Playoff Challenge details coming your way probably within the next few weeks. Big change. One big change. There might be some smaller changes too, but one big change coming up with that. And it should be our biggest contest ever. So be watching for that at myffpc.com. Of course, if you subscribe to the FFPC e-newsletter, you'll get all the updates right there as well. Scott Johnson, Coach's Crunchers, was on the High Stakes Lowdown. It's an extended one. It's like a 45-minute podcast. Scott and I got into a lot of stuff, and it was a fun conversation. So hopefully you check that out, rotoviz.com/podcast, or anywhere you get podcasts as well. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I want to bring in tonight's first guest, the longtime NFFPC player who's made multiple appearances on this program. Tonight he's here to talk about his brand new venture with the FFPC and why all of you Dynasty players need to know about the Dynasty Depot. You follow him on Twitter at Credit Kurd King. Please welcome back onto the show, DynastyDepot.com co-founder Nelson Verbit. Nelson, thanks for popping on again this evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing well. Very excited because we're coming up at the end of October, and November 1st, and this weekend really is a huge weekend for the Dynasty Depot. For anybody who missed you a few weeks back on the show, can you tell everybody what the Dynasty Depot is?
Sure, Eric. Dynasty Depot is an auction site for FFPC Dynasty teams. So once week 16 ends, and you want to sell your team, you'll have a forum to sell your team on the Dynasty Depot. Very exciting. Everybody seems overwhelmed. We're opening up this week for memberships on Monday, and we're just very excited to get this close. A lot of work to get to this point.
Nelson, the Dynasty Depot has an exclusive partnership with the FFPC. What does that mean for the Dynasty players on that specific platform to have this partnership with this auction site?
Well, when you talk about FFPC, you're talking about one thing, right? You're talking about integrity. So when we were able to approach FFPC with this idea about possibly being a secondary market for Dynasty teams, when they loved the idea at FFPC, and that's where we wanted to be. We wanted to make sure that the product and the teams that we were moving, spelled out the word integrity, and that's what it is with FFPC. So it's very exciting for us to be the exclusive reseller of Dynasty teams for FFPC.
And one thing I should make clear, and I think we touched on this in our last conversation, but I want to highlight this a little bit. When, sometimes life gets in the way of fantasy football. And I think one of the stigmas that people see when they see like an orphan Dynasty team or a Dynasty team up for sale, they just assume it's a dog. It's a dog with fleas. It's one that they don't want to own. But people give up great teams all the time. And a lot of times when people will go on Dynasty Depot to check out some of these teams, there's going to be some good ones on there. In fact, ones that might even sell higher than the normal entry fee, right?
Well, we would agree 1,000% with that, because people might win this year, have a great team, might win this year. It's hard to win 2 years in a row, as you know that. So they might try to sell a team for a profit. There's many reasons people want to get out. People might get tired of looking at the same team for 5 years, can't get over the top, put it up for sale. The market will determine, what these teams are worth. When you put a team up on Dynasty Depot, you'll set a reserve on the team, and you'll set a buy it now price, and the market will tell you what you're getting for that. So it is. We also see it going another way, where people love to draft, right, Eric? That's fantasy people. That's what we like to do. So we see people drafting maiden teams in March and April and putting them up for sale. If you're a good drafter, you'll be able to put that team up for sale without ever playing it down, and you might be able to make profits on it. So we're excited. It's covering, the people that want to get out, it's the people that want to get in, the bargain hunters. The bottom line through this thing is, when we created this with one word in mind, and that's action, off-season action, and that's where we are.
Yeah, and that will be the hub of that, no question, for all the FFPC Dynasty leagues. That will be where the action's happening. So take me through this. If somebody gets a membership, they're locked and loaded, they go on dynastydepot.com. Are they just going to get, presented with every team up for sale along with the reserve? And then is there like a set time that each auction ends for each team? How does that work for people that are looking to buy?
Okay. So I'll work backwards here. If a team goes up for sale, you'll have the option to put your team up for auction for 1, 3, or 5 days. So if you want a quick auction, see what your team's worth, boom, 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 you can do a 24-hour auction. Okay, so once a team goes up for auction, it'll hit the page. You'll be able to filter that page by dollar amount, by league amount, best ball standard, best ball superflex, and superflex. You'll be able to filter by what you're doing, because we're anticipating when January 4th the auctions begin, we're anticipating there's probably going to be between 100 and 200 teams listed really quickly on this. So, the nice thing is, when we talk about memberships here, if everybody's familiar with FFPC orphan teams, you got to get lucky to get that team, right? Because you got to click on the orphan page 10, 15 times a day and hope, a team's posted and not taken already. So what we've established with our mid-tier membership that we're going to basically be giving away tonight on this show with our promo code. You're going, every time a new team posts, it will be notified on your phone. So it will pop up on your phone, new team posted, look at it on the front of your phone, touch your phone, and you can get in on that auction immediately or buy it now if you think that's something that you want to purchase immediately.
Yeah, and for anybody who's listing them, obviously, too, you'll be able to watch people bid on your team over 1 day, 3 days, or 5 days, too. And to get that notification, that push notification on your phone, that's going to be a huge advantage for anybody who has that membership option, too. Tell us a little, I know you talked about this last time, Nelson, but tell us a little bit about why the Dynasty Depot's leaderboards are going to be important for everybody on there.
Well, we think it's really the hidden jewel behind the whole thing because everybody, as we talked about last time, everybody likes the game within a game. So when you buy a team on Dynasty Depot, I don't care if you spend $5 or you spend $2,000. That team equates to a team on Dynasty Depot. Each week, your team will accumulate points through FFPC and be transferred to the Dynasty Depot leaderboard. So if you're in a best ball league, everybody that buys a team on best ball, on FFPC best ball, will all be in one league on Dynasty Depot. Your points will transfer. Whatever you score that week, it'll hit the leaderboard. At the end of week 13, unbelievable because we put the prizes together, and our website, dynastydepot.com, will be live on Monday. First time the public's going to finally get to see this. It's open for memberships, but you'll be able to click on leaderboard, and we have put the prizes up there. So going back to what we said, you buy a dog, a $77 team for $5. Guy wanted to get rid of it. You take off season and you spin it around and you make it into a monster next year. That $5 team, if that wins the Dynasty Depot leaderboard best ball, will get you a 2021 main event entry with FFPC. Second place is a free $500 Dynasty team. We're giving away Dynasties. The top 10 places are great prizes, and you're getting this for nothing. Okay, we're not charging you for this entry. If you're a member of Dynasty Depot, you buy one team. Hey, you buy 25 teams on Dynasty Depot, they're all entered into the contest, the leaderboard contest in 2021.
DynastyDepot.com, co-founder Nelson Verbit joining us here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour this week. So the website is indeed DynastyDepot.com. Nelson, that's the best. That's where people should be going. You could sign up for the newsletter right there, and then you will be able to have access to that on November 1st when everybody they'll get the lay of the land on the site. Obviously, that's the best thing to do. Tell me more about the promo code tonight.
Yeah. So on Monday, 12:01 a.m. Monday, the site will go live. And for our FFPC people, the promo code is Charter20, being you're a charter member, Charter20. And what that's going to get you is we have 3 membership levels, Rookie, All-Pro, and Hall of Fame. The All-Pro membership level will get you unlimited bid buying and selling. It will get you the texting service, which I think is very, very important. It will get you a free $59 Roster Watch Pro membership with one of our partners, and that's for Charter 20. So we're not going to run this real long. We are going, as I told you before, we're going on Sirius XM radio to the masses in December. So once that happens, there'll be a different promo code. It's not going to be the sweetener that we're giving the FFPC people. So it's DynastyDepot.com, Charter 20, starting on Monday. Get your membership, get it locked up. Hopefully you're buying a lot of teams on the site and you're getting involved in that leaderboard. Listen, it gives you another thing to do, okay, on Monday. After you're checking your standings on Tuesday morning, you pop over to Dynasty Depot, see how your team's ranked in there. It's great prizes we're giving away.
Absolutely. And also all the members of the Dynasty Depot are getting free access to Dynasty rankings from Roster Watch. We've had a lot of good experiences with Roster Watch here at the FFPC. Alex Dunlap, certainly an awesome guy that they have over there, does really good job in pros versus Joes every single year. So check that out. Charter20 is the promo code. DynastyDepot.com is the website. You follow him on Twitter at The Dynasty Depot. Nelson, man, good luck with this. I'm very excited for it. I know the FFPC Dynasty owners are definitely excited for it as well, and we can't wait for Monday to see that site go live and get everything going. It's going to be awesome, and thank you for the discount code for all the FFPC players as well.
Thank you, as always, Eric, for your time and your graciousness, and I appreciate it, man.
All right, dude. Enjoy Week 8. We'll talk again soon, all right?
Thank you, buddy. Bye-bye.
Nelson Verbit, ladies and gentlemen, the co-founder of DynastyDepot.com. Remember that promo code is Charter20, CHARTER20, to get your discounted membership to DynastyDepot.com. And certainly if you are an FFPC Dynasty player or even thinking about becoming one, now is the time to get in on that, ladies and gentlemen, for sure. Always good to talk to Nelson Verbit, very talented high-stakes player too, and we've had him on this show to talk content before, as well as the road of his high-stakes lowdown as well. One of the best parts about this program is we get to talk to high-stakes players each and every week, and we're very fortunate to welcome in two studs into the program tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Number one, I want to introduce my co-host, who I haven't heard from yet, but he's popping on now. You follow him on Twitter at @JFarrellElliott, the commissioner of the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. Farrell, good Friday evening to you, man.
Good evening, sir. I finally shook off my phone obligations and got to you, Balky, in time for Chris and Alan.
Yeah, exactly, and that's who I want to bring on right now. It's time. They don't have a wealth of FFPC experience, but they do have several decades worth of fantasy football experience, and they've used that en route to their ascension to the top of the leaderboard in the Football Guys Players Championship heading into Week 8. Please welcome onto the program Chris, Ondrus, and Alan Martirossian. Guys, thank you so much for hopping aboard tonight.
Oh, thank you very much for having us. So happy to be here.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks for having us.
It's got to be exciting for you guys to see your name when you look at the top of the – and Chris, I'll throw this to you. But it's got to be exciting to see your name right up at the top of the leaderboard, essentially halfway through the NFL season right now.
Oh, no, absolutely. It's a huge surprise. Yeah, sure, I've done okay in fantasy football, but to see it at the top of a list of, 10,100 players, that's pretty exciting. Of course, I would rather have it be week 11 instead of week 7 or 8, but I'll take it. You just got a lot of work to do to keep this momentum going.
Yeah, you're certainly putting yourself
Balky, what
in
is
the best position.
what is that grand prize in Football Guys this year?
That would be a $500,000 grand prize that these guys
That's
are
what
in the
I
driver's.
thought. I just wanted to hear you say it. So,
wow.
yeah, Chris and Alan, it would be more than okay. It would. Yeah, we're going to. Yeah, keep going, fellas. How many points have amassed to get you guys to where you are? How many points have you scored in the 7 weeks?
Oh, let's see.
You guys
it's
are averaging.
roughly,
I want to say about 183, 184 points
a game, right?
Oh,
you're right up there. I know that.
Yeah, I got to go to my standings right
I'll
here.
have one question for you because I think I jumped on some of Balky's information or that he wanted to ask you, but I have one question because every time partners come on the show, that's what I
right.
love best about it. And you guys, it'll be interesting. I think the backstory of how guys get together and play fantasy football, and in your case, play it successfully, is what's most interesting. So Balky said you guys don't have a wealth of history in playing in the FFPC. I think you'll be in a lot of seats in a lot of leagues next year. Is this partnership going to continue as a exclusive to all FFPC teams? And can you tell us a little bit about how you got together?
Alan, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Well, Chris and I have known each other for a number of years. We met through our son's basketball teams. So sure glad we got connected that way. And then we started talking about connecting on fantasy last year. I jumped in last minute in FFPC last year. And then this year, Chris convinced me to join him, and I'm sure glad he did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Alan, you won. You were in the main event last year, and you won your individual league, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Which is pretty amazing.
It was really a last-minute decision to join last year.
And it was a good decision, too, because not only do you have a league championship under your belt, you're 1 for 1, and now you guys are in first place in the FPC heading into to Week 8. I'm just, kind of curious. we do have owners come in their first couple years, and they do achieve some success. It's rare to have somebody have played one main event and won it, and now in the first year of the Football Guys Players Championship, you guys are leading the whole thing, which is pretty crazy. So I'm just kind of curious, Alan, how has the success been so seamless for you guys these last couple of years? How did you adapt to, sort of a unique starting lineup, a unique scoring system, and a lot of guys have been playing this for a lot of years. Why was the transition not that hard for you?
I mean, for me, honestly, it's just doing it for 30 years. I've been playing fantasy football probably for 30 years now, so a lot of ups and downs and painful lessons learned over the years, and I think it just translated into success. So it's just really experience.
That's great, guys. When I looked at the draft, there were certain players that were just a mystery to me. I didn't know what to do with them, so they just went off my draft board. And I noticed that one of those guys you took in the 8th round. I thought that was a little high. And earlier in our league in Kentucky, and then later where I get the pleasure of playing against you guys in the FFPC, I looked at later drafts and I saw him going higher. And that player is Christian Kirk. Now, I'm always trying to target a player that I think is going to be explosive, that's going to be rising with a bullet, so to speak, as we get to midseason. Kirk's only 36 overall in receiving, 18 catches, but 5 TDs, and I really like what's going on. Did you guys foresee him developing into that kind of player? And what do you see for him with the team after coming through the bye week?
Yeah, I think I want to say Christian Kirk was one of your picks. We were drafting together online, talking about the draft as we were going, and I think Christian Kirk was one of the guys Chris spotted. He's definitely explosive. I remember last year a lot of ups and downs. So I got to give the credit to Chris on that one.
Well,
Chris, what did you see in him?
Well, trying to connect. Well, I couldn't get DeAndre Hopkins. So I would like to have someone actually to connect with the quarterback that we have. And since we got Kyler Murray, let's go ahead and get Christian Kirk, because he was explosive. Because I remember last year, Allen had Christian Kirk on his team. I'm like, who the heck is this guy? And he ended up doing fairly well. So because of that, how well Allen used him last year, he was one of the guys I wanted to target if we couldn't get Hopkins. And thank goodness, it's just we've been very fortunate, obviously, at this point.
Chris, Ondrus, Alan Martirossian joining us here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour this week. Leaders in the Football Guys Players Championship. And Chris, another guy, and this is where I'm sort of going to get into some conversations I've had with high stakes owners, talking about Tony Pollard, because a lot of people for the last couple of weeks have said that Pollard should be getting more touches in this offense than he has been getting. And Ezekiel Elliott should not be getting as much, because Pollard's he's been more efficient with his carry. And I'm kind of curious, given the way that this season is going for Dallas, Chris, how close does this get to a 50-50 split by the end of the year, a situation I don't think any of us expected in the drafting season?
No, absolutely. And, obviously Zeke is one of the better running backs in the league. But the thing is that what's going on is Dallas is still in the hunt for leading in the NFC East Division with a 2-5 record. And they're only one place out of first place. So I really don't see them using Tony Pollard so much, because Zeke, they're going to need him to do very well. They're still in the hunt for the playoffs. And, of course, if they aren't in the hunt, then I could see them going more to Tony Pollard just to save Zeke and his legs. But right now, since they're kind of in the middle of it, they need Zeke. They need him to step up.
I think that's an excellent evaluation of that. I think that Zeke is going to put that team on his back and carry them as long and as far as he can. It's a real chance for him to step up and be the competitor that we all know he is. Now, Christopher, you, a guy that's been trying to find a place to compete, and competes in a little different way than a lot of other players around the league. Another mystery player on my board was Le'Veon Bell. I drafted him, and I stayed with him. And I don't really know what to expect, but the schedule makers have given us a real plum this week, and Le'Veon Bell returns to play his New York Jets former teammates. The Jets giving up 142 yards rushing in a mop-up row. Le'Veon Bell a significant talent who does not have to carry any team on his back, can be part of a very effective machine. What do you see for him this weekend? Are you going to start him, flex him, or do you feel that he's going to persist, be in your lineup the rest of the way?
Well, it's just funny. I was just texting Alan about that. He wanted to play someone else instead of Le'Veon. I'm like, I don't know. There's a pretty good chance that Le'Veon can do really well. But I said, we got a chance to talk about it. We've got a couple of days to discuss. We'll have a couple of drinks, and then we'll talk it over. But, I mean, to me, with Clyde Edwards-Helaire playing great, I don't see Le'Veon getting the same amount of rushes and touches as Clyde Edwards, at least during each game. But I do see Bell doing a lot of play-action receiving and doing more on the goal line touches. That's where he's going to get a lot of his touches. And I think with what's happening with the team he's playing, he's going to get opportunities because, it's probably going to be a blowout. They're probably going to have Le'Veon Bell kind of do his thing. And I think he wants to showcase what he can do because I'm sure he feels pretty slighted by the Jets. And he's going to showcase exactly what he can do.
I think he showcases himself right into the end zone in this game. And that's when Balky and I have something we can't figure out. And I think I heard this right because I'm listening carefully to what you said. When you can't really make a decision quickly, you got to start having drinks and talking about it. And that's exactly what Balky and I do when we can't figure it out.
It sometimes it even works.
It does. It absolutely does.
So, okay, one of the things that I think fantasy owners are trying to figure out is this tight end situation in Denver right now. You have Noah Fant coming off the injury, and a lot of more than whispers out there saying that he's still not fully healthy. And Alan, this is curious. This is why it's important to you because this is a guy that you own in both your leagues in Fant, and now maybe this could be a committee, maybe it could be a split between Albert Okwuegbunam and Noah Fant. So I'm just kind of curious how concerned you think that is a realistic possibility and could be something that happens for the Broncos now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit biased towards Fant. First few weeks, he really earned a good place in our hearts. We were probably the last team to draft tight end in our league. Everybody's jumping on tight end because you get 1.5 points per reception. We waited, and Fant was our last. I think we were the last ones to take a tight end, and he came out of the gates just crushing it. So I still have confidence in him. I mean, he's averaging nearly 8 targets a game. So to me, I still have a lot of confidence in Fant, just talent level and targets, even though his quarterback situation is not great.
Guys, I waited on tight end too. I ended up with Fant. Obviously, during your waiting on tight end, you were taking Christian Kirk and young guys that were explosive. I made the mistake of taking back-to-back receivers in the 7th and 8th round, Jarvis Landry and Julian Edelman. So, we all know the story on Edelman, and we know the story on Landry. And what interests me is that he is on your team. I'd be curious where you guys took him and what you expected. I didn't want to take him. I felt I would get 12 to 15 points a game. I'm getting 10. I rarely play him. He now taken away from his team is Odell Beckham. We have a number of young players that look explosive, plus the tight end Njoku, the first-round draft pick, returns to the lineup. You guys get a gift if you want to play Jarvis Landry this week. You get the gift of the Raiders coming through town, and I googled because I've been curious what the Raiders are playing. I really admire their Joyner, defensive back, number 29. And I looked at it, I said, are they playing a zone? Are they playing a matchup zone? Or are they playing a cover 2? What exactly are they playing? I put into Google what defense does the Las Vegas Raiders play? And it came back, Las Vegas defense is butter. That's what exactly came back on Google. And I clicked in, and I said, maybe it's a Landry start. What do you guys think, guys? He's still looking for the end zone. He's 45th amongst wide receivers in points, and he does have Mr. Joyner on the other side of the ball.
Well, it's kind of funny because right before this call, Alan and I were just discussing that. Alan was like, hey, I'm thinking Landry over I think he mentioned, I want Landry. I'm like, well, who are we going to sit? Are we going to sit Evans? He says, no, we sit Bell. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. We just might do that. So either way, we have someone who's going to do really well. At least we hope. So that's kind of, it's just, if he mentioned something, all right, we'll discuss and go from there. And it's great that you guys just brought that up. And Alan, I know you're the one who kind of said, so what was your thoughts here? So why?
Yeah,
start Landry?
I'm not confident in Landry's upside, but I'm confident as him as kind of a safe play, a 7-catch, 70-yard guy. And with all the other explosive guys we've got, I see him as kind of a safe play. He'll definitely get more targets, but again, I'm not confident in him blowing up, but just a safe play.
The leaders in the 2020 Football Guys Players Championship after 7 weeks of play are Chris Ondrus and Alan Martirossian, and they're joining us here tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Guys, a couple of emails that came in for you, and I'm going to lead this one off. I'll let Alan take this one. Matt in Macon, Georgia writes, which Dolphins are you starting this week with Tua Tagovailoa making his debut against the Rams? Thank you for the email, Matt in Macon, Georgia. How does that change, Alan, with Tagovailoa in there over Fitzpatrick? Are you doing anything different with guys like Gaskin or Parker or Jasicki or any of these guys with Tagovailoa in there?
Yeah, honestly, a little bit nervous as a Dolphins receiver owner. I've got Parker in another league and definitely don't know what to expect. I would think Gaskin might be safe just because of some dump-offs. If Tua's trying to play it safe, and I could see Gaskin catching 5-6 balls. So I think that would be the safe route.
What do you think, Chris? Is that the way you fall in on the whole Dolphins conversation until we see more of Tagovailoa?
Well, I'm hoping Tua does pretty well. I'm always, up for the guy who tries to come in as a rookie, and he has a lot of hype behind him. Has an arm. I was looking at some of his videos. He reminds me a little bit of Kyler Murray. And even Murray came in, he had a little tough time. But with a little time, he has some talent to throw to. He does have some good players. It's not like he doesn't have anybody. So I think Tua may do pretty well, but I know it's against a defense. I mean, the wonderful thing about football is it's any given Sunday, guys. Who the heck knows? But I'm hoping for Tua to do some pretty nice things this weekend.
Yeah, I'm excited
since
to see
since it is any given Sunday, guys, anything can happen any week. What you counted on last week, you may not see this week. And that takes us to my favorite question every week. You are staring down a championship here, and you've got 10 opportunities to expand, or in your case, keep your territory as the number one team. But there's always one guy in fantasy football, and he may not be in your roster, and he may not be in your lineup, but he could be that expected bust. And then you guys are impressive drafters. I'd like each of you to answer this question. I'd like you to give me one bust, and then I would like you to turn to that player that us lesser mortals of drafting may have to rely on this weekend, someone that no one else might be smart enough to start but you, and if you did, you would be deeply rewarded. They call him a sleeper. You cannot use any Carolina players, especially one that doubles as a wide receiver, running back, and wears number 10. And his name's Sam. Okay, use him. Bust and sleeper, that's what we need, guys. And I need it more than anyone. I need to.
All right, well, sure. I'll do the first one. Well, for the bust, I hate to say it because I'm a black and gold fan, but I think my bust of the week is going to be Chase Claypool. We have him on our roster, and with Deontay Johnson coming back, he's in the lineup, and Ben just loves to throw to him. And usually once Deontay's back and Claypool just kind of goes into the wayside. I know he had a couple of really great games, and I think long-term he will. I think with this game being a tough matchup in Baltimore, I think it's going to be tough. So Claypool is my kind of bust for the week. And for my sleeper, the guy we were just talking about, another former black and gold, I think Le'Veon Bell. This is an opportunity for him to really step it up. And I have him on a few of my teams. He really hasn't done much here the past couple of weeks because with the Jets, and last year he was with the Jets. He has a lot to prove against the team. Now, granted, if you're gonna prove you're good, you better do it against the Jets. If you can't do it against the Jets, you may not be able to do it against anyone.
All right, we're starting.
Hey.
Hey, Alan, I want to get to yours in just 1 second, but Chris, as long as you bring up Chase Claypool, something that I've been asking a lot of players, high stakes players, about, how do you sort of see that Steelers receiver situation going forward? You know, Juju Smith-Schuster is in the last year of his contract. The Steelers have not extended him yet. Do you think that they bring back Smith-Schuster to pair with Johnson? Well, not pair, but to go along with Johnson and Claypool next year? Who's the Steelers receiver really to own going forward?
Well, I think going forward, I mean, it's Deontay, and I think it's going to be Claypool. But I've been with the Steelers. I mean, I'm a Steelers fan, diehard. So I've seen him go through many players that were good, and they just let them go. And when they let them go, they really don't do much on other teams. But they're on the Steelers do well. So I would think that they would, at least keep Claypool and obviously Deontay Johnson. Those are the two, at least long term. But Steelers just has a knack of drafting really good young wide receivers. And I think sometimes, they're going to go. We'll just draft somebody else. I don't know if they have that mentality at times. Steelers do, but they seem to really be able to draft wide receivers well. Hopefully, he doesn't get big for his britches like Antonio Brown did. But we shall. So I'm just hoping, he's a really good guy. And one thing about Pittsburgh is, they're down to home people. They really like their fans. The fans love them. And we always hate to see them go. But if there's something going on and they just. He's getting too big for his britches, then, I could see him letting him go. But I hope not.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly how you feel. A sleeper and a bust from you, Alan.
The sleeper, I'm going to go with Brandon Ayuk. With Deebo Samuel out, they got, obviously they got Kittle, but they got no other receivers to throw to, and Seattle's the worst. I think they're the worst ranked pass defense in the league. So Ayuk is my sleeper. And then the bust, I don't know how much of a bust it is, but I'm going to go back to that Dolphins game. I think the Dolphins are going to win in Tua's first game, and I think Jared Goff is the bust.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Interesting.
Wow,
okay.
Good call. That's very good.
So one other thing here, and Chris, you kind of already gave your answer on this, but I just came across one more email from Steve in Detroit. And, Alan, I'm going to pitch this to you. Hey, guys, should I sit Chase Claypool in favor of Marquise Brown this week? Nice work in the Football Guys contest. That is Steve in Detroit. Steve, thank you so much for the email. Alan, are you with Chris in this, that this is not going to be a Claypool week?
Yeah, I think I would go with Brown just because of the more limited choices in the Baltimore passing game. I think Brown gets more opportunities than Claypool.
I know Farrell asked the final question, but I do, just as long as we got a minute or two left here. Chris, I'll pitch this to you, and then Alan, please let us know your thoughts. But normally, when people have just joined the FFPC or just start playing there, I always want to ask them, what's the biggest difference? What was the biggest adjustment you had to make from your home leagues to competing in the high stakes space? And you guys have had a lot of success because you've had like 30 plus years of this. But I'm just kind of curious, what was the biggest adjustment that you had to make in playing in these FFPC leagues that you didn't necessarily have to do in your home leagues?
I think for me it's the waivers. The waivers are a place where you could win. I mean, if you have a good draft, successful draft, great. If you don't, you can use the waivers as a way to obviously make your team better. But I'm always being mindful of who's out there. I'm always looking for sleepers to possibly pick up, and how much you're going to have to pay for them. So to me, there's the game that you're playing when you draft. There's the game you play when during the week, and then there's a game that you play on the waiver wire. And for me, playing that waiver wire is a constant game to try to figure out which guys you get at good prices early, because once they have a hot game, their prices are going to go up. We've experienced that a couple times. I'm always trying to get ahead of the game. Say 2 or 3 games ahead, try to get sleepers now so I don't have to pay so much later. So, I have a good solid bench, which we do now. And we're continually looking for guys, to kind of stack our bench.
I always think that's
that is a brilliant way to look at it. Eric, did you hear these guys are in first place and they're continually looking for a way to improve their team, and I love that. I got to tell you, you guys have a smooth and give and take with each other, and obvious a lot of respect for each other, and It works. It's taking you a long way, and I wish you continued success. I think you're going to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can't thank you enough for popping on the show this week. And if you do end up cashing that $500,000 grand prize at the end of the season, you best believe we'll have you back on in January for a recap on how that all went down. I know you guys know you have more work cut out for you, and it's going to be several more weeks before we can get there. But you're in the driver's seat now. Congratulations on that success. Thanks so much for joining us this week. And we will talk to you again soon, guys. Enjoy Week 8.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. That is Chris Ondrus. That is Alan Martirossian, the leaders in the 2020 Football Guys Players Championship as we head into Week 8. Farrell, it's crazy, you think about this, but for the FFPC, for the Football Guys, for Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship as well, there's only 4 more weeks of regular season play. So you get 4 weeks to sort of make hay while the sun shines and try to get your team into the playoffs. I don't know about you, but I am desperate and making every move like it's my last. And I found out I exhausted my fab budget in one of my Kentucky leagues on Wednesday night. So that is, I got $0 left in that league. We'll see if it's enough, but I'm spending it all, man.
Well, you've got to get through. You've got to get through Week 11 broke, Balky. That's your goal. That's exactly what you want to do. So you're doing it right. You're just doing it a little earlier than most everyone would do it. All of these teammates, I got to say it again, all these teammates that come in, you can tell they're having fun. You can tell they're great guys, and I've enjoyed all of them. These guys have something special going on. I think that they're going to be looking beyond this year. You asked them about the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I thought that was a very astute answer that they came back with. But I think as far as we look at the future, these guys are going to be trouble. When I show up as Caesars in 2021, I don't want to see these guys at my table. I don't want to see those guys.
Yeah, or at least not in your league for sure. Drafting on a different table would definitely be much more beneficial. We got some emails here I want to get to tonight, Farrell. So without further ado, Rob, let's hear it.
If you've got a question for Eric, Dave, or tonight's guest, send them a tweet at HSFF Hour on Twitter. Email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Post it in the chat room during the broadcast. Hashtag your tweet with HSFF or just smack Eric in the head. That's highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com or at HSFF Hour on Twitter.
First email comes from the great state of Maryland. Bill is in Essex, Maryland, and he writes, Dear Farrell and Balky, I'm more than a little concerned that the defenses are going to slow down the offenses in that Steelers-Ravens game, and I'm thinking of starting Joe Burrow over Big Ben for that exact reason. What do you guys think? That is Bill in Essex, Maryland. Farrell, how do you fall in on this? Burrow or Big Ben in Week 8?
Oh, our man from Essex, Maryland is right on it. Joe Burrow comes into this game. 5 games, Balky. 5 games with 300-plus yards. This guy is a rookie quarterback. He's phenomenal feel in the pocket. It's like he's got eyes in the back of his head. Now, the Titans, there's a lot of talk about the success that the Titans have had this year, but I think it's all very, very phony when you start looking at their pass defense. 15 passing TDs against the Falcons. 4 quarterbacks have hit them for over 200 yards just to the wide receivers. Not 200 yards for the game, but just to the wideouts. And they're the names of it's just like the names that are etched in stone at the Hall of Fame. It's guys like Cousins, Minshew, Locke, Josh Allen in a chaser game. They played with Roethlisberger, who had a difficult second half, but a good first half. And Watson has led up the Titans pretty good. Burrow will continue to do that this weekend. Titans don't have a pass rush. Even if they did, it wouldn't bother this kid. But the Titans, 6 sacks in 7 games. You go over to Mr. Roethlisberger and what he's looking at. They got 13 sacks by the Ravens in the last 2 games. They have just coming home to Maryland as Yannick Ngakoue, Maryland Terrapin comes home to play for the local team. 21st in quarterback scoring. I got stats. Look, the road is kryptonite for Big Ben. Baltimore's at home coming off a bye. He did well in the Tennessee game. They maintained to get out of there and keep their record. This is where it comes to an end in Baltimore, and it's not a good game for Roethlisberger. Burrow will torch the Titans. Who knows if they'll win? They got a good offense on Tennessee, but Burrow will have a significant fantasy game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. That game, the total in that's 51.5. Titans 6.5-point favorites. You'd like to think that Joe Burrow's arm is going to be crucial in keeping Cincinnati in that game if they're able to make it a game in the fourth quarter. Farrell, just a dynasty question here for you. Who has the better career, Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert, when you consider the quarterbacks that got drafted highest in the? And I'll tell you what. Let's throw in Tua Tagovailoa in there. If you were playing dynasty or even just from an NFL standpoint, who has the best career of those three rookie quarterbacks?
Too soon to tell. Burrow and Herbert have the early start, and it puts them ahead of Tua. Tua will be a different kind of quarterback, so a different fantasy kind of quarterback. He'll have to score points with his legs. And, everyone wants to point to Russell Wilson, but the comparisons aren't that easy to make. Right now, Burrow, as you look forward in the future, he's got less controversy, less expectations perhaps. Cincinnati is much different environment than Los Angeles, even if it is the second Los Angeles team. And he's got a coaching staff that is secure and offensive minded. So if I had to make a decision today, it's a tough one, but I'm all lining up with Burrow.
Yeah, I think I'm with you right now, although I reserve the right to change my mind, as we always both do on this show as we get new information. Let's go to Nick in New London, Connecticut. He writes, is there something to the revenge game narrative this week when Le'Veon Bell plays his old team? Or would I be better served playing Justin Jackson over him instead? Thanks so much. That is Nick in New London, Connecticut. Farrell, we talked a little bit with Chris and Alan about Le'Veon Bell this week. We obviously got their thoughts. How about you? Is Bell in for a big game this weekend, or is it still going to be the Edwards-Helaire show against the Jets?
Oddly enough, the comparison is very appropriate here because they're both splitting time. Jackson's splitting time with Kelly. Everyone knows that I'm a big Kelly believer, and everyone knows I had to bite my tongue when these guys – Adam and Chris were picking Claypool as the bust for the week, but nevertheless, they're in first place. Who am I to argue with them? But now, Jackson and Kelly they're going to eventually get into a game that's going to be more of a Kelly game than a Jackson game. But I think what they're running into. What the Chargers are running into in Denver this week. Denver has given up 2 rushing TDs. They're allowing 17 fantasy points to 2 running backs collectively, and you would expect Kelly and Jackson to split that. And, hey, look, they played Henry. They played against Connor. They played against what Tampa had to offer and Rojo and Fournette. This is a real run-stopping defense in Denver. So I'll go back to Le'Veon Bell and say that in a game where they get up early, Kansas City wants to see that game away. And they also want to work on some things. They also want to make Le'Veon Bell comfortable. And, like coaching room, they're talking about the fact that they want to give him a chance to make a statement. They'll get him at least a touchdown. And, I don't know if you can count on that between Jackson and Kelly. It's an easy decision, Le'Veon Bell.
So, Farrell, you're a player agent. I mean, you deal with this kind of stuff. The revenge game, this is a real thing, right? When players go back to face their old team, they want to show them that they did indeed make a mistake, and this isn't something that the media or pundits like us make up. This is a real thing for these players, right?
It is, and it's miscast in a revenge game. Even if a player left on good terms, it's meant to come back and to have the kind of game that people would expect you to have. They see your maturation as a player. They see, we let you go and you're coming back here. There's also players that compete against each other within games. And if you look at it, you'll see certain games, if you have two running backs that went to the same college or competed perhaps in one of the Power 5 conferences, and one got drafted in front of the other one, or one might have got drafted and one didn't get drafted at all. They're always wanting to show each other up. It's very, very competitive people at that position. So you can look for those kind of things. They are not always as obvious as Le'Veon Bell returning to his employer to start the season. So, yeah, those type of things are always present. And right now, you take anyone that goes up against the Tennessee Titans, the opposing running back wants to have a big, big game and nullify some of the attention that Derrick Henry's getting.
Couple more emails here for us, Farrell. This is from Ron and Akron, appropriately. Is T.Y. Hilton worth starting anymore? I played Cole Beasley last week on your guest's advice and was very pleased. Should I start him over Hilton in Week 8 too? Ron, thank you so much for the email. By the way, I did get an email from Barney Newkirk saying, after, he said Cole Beasley was going to be a sleeper last week, and Beasley obviously had the double-digit catches for 120-plus yards or whatever it was. He made sure to remind me that he made that call on our show last week, and it helped out Ron, which is good. That's what we're trying to do here. So, Farrell, in Week 8, you got to play Beasley over Hilton again, right?
Oh, easy. It was an astute call because fantasy players just don't quite understand Beasley. Football is all about how you match up. You saw the Green Bay Packers come out and put in a great first quarter against Tampa Bay. And then Tampa made some changes. They were rushing with 4. They went to 5. They ran up some unique defensive fronts that Rodgers hadn't seen, and defenders were getting in the backfield. And so this is a team, Tampa Bay, that struggled against Chicago, but made the right adjustments to work against Green Bay. So my point is that Beasley will have his moments of having great success. There were no adjustments made. The middle was open. They threw the ball to him about 14 times. That's what Carolina should have done with some of their receivers last night. Beasley's situation, though, this year is beyond impressive. He's on track to have plus 80 catches. He's found the end zone 2 times. Everybody can talk about how Buffalo doesn't score the ball in the red zone, and Allen takes the touches away from the running backs and receivers. But, Beasley's got 2 more touchdowns than a lot of wide receivers because Landry's at 0 and T.Y. Hilton certainly is at 0. We keep getting these T.Y. Hilton questions, and it's an easy choice for Beasley. But T.Y., I hope for a miracle. I hope that he's actually acquired in a trade. This is a wonderful wide receiver. When's the last time you've been to Indy, Balky?
I suppose I'm not in Kentucky since I flew this year. So probably the last time I was in Indianapolis was driving down to Louisville in 2019.
There you go. So it's been a while, and the downtown has been resurgent, and it's Fountain Squares where all the nightlife and the activity is. T.Y. Hilton is a fountain of sorrow. It's just a sadness as to what's happened to his career. The email comes in. We're talking about T.Y. Hilton. I would rather start Godwin, Beckham, Robinson, even Crowder than T.Y. Hilton. And all those guys aren't going to play. I would rather hope for a miracle healing for one of those players than to play T.Y. Hilton, and because I think I've got a better chance of getting an injured player another miracle and have him recovered than Phillip Rivers learning how to get one of his wounded ducks to a guy that is really a fine football player and is losing the season here.
When you were talking about the way the coverage is being rolled on Cole Beasley, it reminded me of something. And I wanted to ask you this, and I don't know if you have any insight into this, but, the Houston Texans didn't bracket, they didn't double cover, they weren't rolling a safety over at all on Devontae Adams, who just torched him on Sunday. He was constantly locked up in man-to-man coverage. Vernon Hargreaves, Eric Murray, Phillip Gaines. None of them could do anything by themselves. Why do you think the Texans didn't change anything? Why do you think they just left, whichever corner it was on an island with one of the best receivers in pro football? And even after he was destroying them, they didn't change anything.
You got to see it. You got to act quick. You got to have plan B, and you got to be comfortable and confident in your players being able to make a change in a game plan. And I don't know how many of those things are working in Houston, but I don't know if any of them are. Hey, when's the last time you watched Moneyball?
Moneyball, I watched probably about a week and a half ago, actually.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, it was a great role as Art Howe as the manager. You couldn't even imagine that was Philip Seymour Hoffman playing the role. And he tells to Brad Pitt, who plays the Billy Bean, he says, Bean says, what are you trying to do here? And he says, I'm trying to manage this team where I can explain it when I'm on the job search for next year. And I think that's the answer to your question. These guys are, playing out the string with what they've got, and we'll probably see a significant talent drain throughout the year with players being first traded as we approach the deadline, and then heading to the bench, less and less time on the field. I think your old and our good friend Ron Meyer, one of his favorite players that I always remember him drafting in Kentucky, Randy Cobb might be a guy to come out of there.
That's
so
right.
We'll see.
Yeah, no, for sure. I actually own Randall Cobb in a couple of leagues so far. I've been pleasantly surprised. We'll see. I'd like to see that depth chart get broken up a little bit and maybe see some of those receivers that are buried there in different places and see what they can do in a new location. Final email tonight for us, Farrell. It's from Chuck in Dallas. He writes, hey, HSFF, our team. I just know I'm going to pick the wrong guy here, so I leave it up to you guys. Evan Engram or Mike Gesicki in my football guys lineup this week. Happy Halloween. That is Chuck in Dallas. If we look at the schedule here, Evan Engram is actually going to be on Monday Night Football hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Gesicki is going to be catching balls from Tua Tagovailoa at home against the Rams this week. Farrell, do you have a good feeling on this? I don't. I'm leaning towards Gesicki, but I don't really know.
It depends on how big a gambler you are. Gesicki has had one game. We all know when it was, week 2. He absolutely blew up. Of course, I didn't start him. I started Gronkowski that week that scored a 0. I started Gesicki the next week, and he posted a 0, and Gronkowski had a 20-point game. We're rewarded by that 1.5 per catch, and I just don't know which tight end is going to catch the ball. But if you're watching Red Zone, so often you see a tight end in the number in the 80 spectrum of numbers catching the ball, and you find out it's a big kid from Notre Dame who doesn't look anything like the 60, and then number 80. I forget his name. Maybe Sternberger. He sometimes catches the ball. It's hard to say that what you should expect in this game. Typically, young quarterbacks will lean on a tight end, but this tight end is also lined up in the slot many times. So the answer with Gesicki is I just don't know. Now Balky, you worked in some real football questions here tonight. Not that fantasy football isn't very, very real, but we've been talking about some schemes and some mindsets of players, and there's something. So we returned to Monday Night Football with these New York football giants, and Philly recently beat them in a primetime game, and we're Robbie Fetcher. My good friend Robbie Fetcher, that does our KFFSC podcast with me, pointed out something to me. He says, the third down of the last possession when the ball went off Evan Ingram's fingertips, it's not like Ingram sold out for the ball. It's not like he tried to make the most amazing catch of the game. And if he had made that catch, he would have won the game for his team and instilled tremendous trust in that quarterback. Ingram's caught 26 balls this year. I think he'll catch more than Gesicki. I'm going to say play Ingram, but I'm going to say be very careful about how you use Ingram in the future because we haven't seen a breakthrough game for him yet, and I don't know if there is one forthcoming in Giants football. So it's not the greatest combination of tight ends, but Ingram has the best chance to score you the most points, and everybody's tired of waiting for Ingram. And Gesicki were tired of goose eggs. I would rather wait than take what might be another goose egg.
Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned that pass too. That would have been Evan Engram's 7th catch of the night too. So you know he's getting targeted, and this was already after Sterling Shepard came back into this lineup. So something to be said for that. I think you're right about the gambling thing, and it's just how big of a risk do you want to take when it comes down to that. And I'm getting from the email from the emailer here, Chuck, that he has picked wrong more often than he has picked right between those two this year. So he must have been picking Gesicki a lot. Farrell, always good to talk to you, dude. Appreciated getting into some real football analysis tonight besides the fantasy stuff. You always bring the real, which I appreciate. And I hope to talk to you again next Friday when we have another guest on. And enjoy Week 8, man. Always good to talk to you, and happy Halloween.
Thank you, Balky. You have the same, and enjoy it with those kids.
Will do. I absolutely will. Thank you so much, man. Farrell Elliott, ladies and gentlemen, you follow him on Twitter at jfarrellelliott. Check out the KFFSC on Twitter at KFFSC and KFFSC.com. That is going to do it for our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to Farrell Elliott, Nelson Verbit, Chris Ondrus, Alan Martirossian, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and, of course, each and every one of you. Remember, DynastyDepot.com. If you're a Dynasty player thinking about playing Dynasty, get over there now. Make sure you get on the mailing list. Make sure you're signing up for a membership on Monday, and use that discount code CHARTER20 to get hooked up with one of those memberships at DynastyDepot.com. A reminder to check out the High Stakes Lowdown this week. Scott Johnson on it for a bit of an extended one. It was a longer one. It's a fun one. I mean, they're always fun. But it was always good talking to Scott Johnson. So check that out, rotoviz.com/podcast. We will be back next week at 10/9 Central. The Week 7 football guys' third place team, Bill Wonky, guy who's chasing Ondrus and Martirossian. He's in third place. He's going to join us next week on the show with me and Farrell. Enjoy Week 8, everybody. I hope the ball bounces your way. I hope you get some hard-fought victories and put yourself in a good position to make the playoffs. Happy Halloween. Enjoy it. Be safe. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by MyFFPC.com. It was broadcast live and heard around the world. Balky and Farrell will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
By the way, Farrell alluded to it. I actually went on a little mini trick-or-treating thing with my kids tonight. My son is dressed up as a Tyrannosaurus Rex for Halloween this year, an inflatable one. So his costume makes him nearly as tall as me. And my daughter is Ladybug from Miraculous, the tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. And she's very upset that nobody recognizes who she is from this television show. So if you do see her and you see me post anything on Facebook or Twitter, do be sure to say, she's Ladybug. I love that show. It will make my daughter's day. Good luck in Week 8. And sorry for the father diatribe there, but I want to make sure she's happy. We'll talk to you again next week, everybody.